I know where the key is. Then let's go. Guess this is it.
We're right behind you.
Alright, so now we can make it up to the big door that's way brighter the closer you get for some reason, because weird lighting of the remaster. I guess I can run. Are they just gonna walk? We're rolling out. We're rolling out to wrap up the game. You guys are too slow. Catch up. You're too slow.
Moment of truth.
We made it through the door, and since I plugged in all the power sources earlier, this bridge is already connected, so we don't have to worry about that. So now we can make it to the end of— Whoa, my camera! I don't have control over it anymore. Threw me off for a second.
Yes. Come. Here, at last. You know our story now. Of how we tried. Of how we failed. All our hopes extinguished. Save one. Your touch. A spark. A spark to save the world.
Wait! Do not touch the pedestal.
Minerva?
You. But how? You left. You destroyed the device.
Did you think there was only one?
What the hell is going on here?
You must not free her.
Free her?
Juno dwells within these walls, awaiting release. I will explain. While we worked to save the world, she sought instead to conquer it. She used our machine to set her plans in motion. Divination through numbers. There is a pattern to existence. To comprehend the calculations is to tame time. This was my focus. And so I built the eye to aid us. But she turned it towards her own ends. When we discovered her treachery, we put a stop to it. And then we left. But first we called to you, that you might try again. We thought it would be safe with her gone. Now I see we were deceived. She survived, she endured, and then she began to work. For centuries, Tinia and I walked the world, hoping to rekindle the spark of civilization. We shared what we knew as best we could. We were not the only ones, but for all the power we wrought, still death would claim us. But before it did, I would have one last look to know if we had succeeded.
That's how you're here now?
I had hoped you might find this place and finish our work. But it is too late. You and the Templars have squabbled over our refuse. You have wasted centuries, and so you have lost your chance. You cannot hope to stop the end now, Desmond. Only to survive.
She's lying! Only touch the pedestal and the world will be saved.
Better the world burn than she be loosed upon it.
Is that so? Show him then.
But he will not understand. It is complicated. It is...
Show me.
If you heed Minerva, the sun will have its way. The ground will crack and spit fire into the skies. All the world will burn. But this does not end the world, merely heralds its arrival. Darkness follows. Then you emerge, resolving to lay a foundation that such a tragedy does not befall the world again. You will become a symbol to those who survive. Hope, knowledge, determination. You will inspire them to rebuild, to thrive once more. And as the world heals, so too will humanity. But you are just a man, frail and mortal. You pass from the world, leaving behind only a memory. A legacy. You will be remembered first as a hero, later as a legend, and in time, as a god. It is the cruelest fate, to have written words that meant well, and see them made wicked and unwise. What was meant to encourage life, used instead to justify taking it. And so now you see that what was shall be again. So tell me, how is this better? She would sacrifice you, sacrifice the world, for no other reason than to deny me vindication.
They will enslave your kind, Desmond. Is this not why you fight? Is this not why you came here? To ensure more than just your race's future, but its freedom?
What future? What freedom? Billions dead and the whole cycle begun anew? This world has known nothing but heartache and horror since we left it.
Our gift to them, and you'd see it all returned.
Enough!
You must not do this.
Whatever Juno's planning, however terrible it might seem today, we'll find a way to stop it. But the alternative, what you want, there's no hope there.
If you free her, you'll be destroyed.
It will happen in an instant. There will be no pain.
You mustn't.
It's done, Minerva. The decision's made.
Then the consequences of this mistake are yours to live and die with.
You need to go. All of you. Now. Get as far away from here as you can. Come with us. We'll find another way. There isn't time. Son. You know it's true. It's already started. I need to do this now. So go. Go!
It's some sort of global aurora borealis. Never seen anything like this before. Eyewitnesses describe electrical storms and erratic displays of unusual weather. Residents are being asked to remain inside and wait for...
So that's how Assassin's Creed 3 ends. Also, apparently this is Desmond on the radio according to the subtitles. I am completely convinced that the UI of this quote-unquote remaster is completely broken, as we've seen time and time again. I don't know if it's just the Switch version, if it's every like remastered version of the game, like on other platforms as well, but at least here, it is completely broken. Anyway, way back when, Assassin's Creed 3 was actually my first Assassin's Creed game that I ever played, and this is the way that it ended. It ends with a massive cliffhanger, and oh!
It is done. The world is saved. You played your part well, Desmond. But now it's time that I played mine.
So it kind of builds up into something like really big, really, I'll turn chat back on for now, really big for future games, but then like, unfortunately they kind of gave up on this plot. Like, Assassin's Creed 3 originally came out in 2012, and it ended like this, and it's like, okay, there's gonna be something really big happening in the future games. The world has been saved, the whole kind of Desmond plot arc has been wrapped up. Like, it does get covered a little bit in Assassin's Creed 4 as well, even though Desmond's, well, dead now. We do get a little bit more backstory with Desmond, but after AC4, that's it for the plot line of Desmond. AC storyline is so confusing. Yeah, especially because they kind of gave up on this. Because this game came out in 2012, and this ended with like this massive cliffhanger being like, there's gonna be something big happening now that Juno's unleashed on the world. But now it's 2020. This released 8 years ago. That plot point still isn't resolved. Like, spoilers, I guess, but it's still not wrapped up. Well, technically it sort of was. Like, they started kind of doing it in future games. Like, this game ends with Juno's been unleashed. Then, like, the next several games end with, like, oh, Juno's gonna do her thing soon. Like, I guess spoilers, sort of, but, like, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, AC4, it ends with, like, oh, I'm gonna do my thing soon, I'm preparing. And then, like, the next one, Unity, I believe it also ends with, like, the same thing where it's, like, things are gonna happen soon we get ready to strike. And then Syndicate, I believe it ends with, like, oh, prepare yourself, I'm gonna strike soon. So it goes on for like years and years of them being like, what do we want to do for the Juno plot anyway? And I don't know how Origins and Odyssey go, actually, because I've never played those before. I've never seen the endings. But I googled it once being like, is the Juno plot resolved? And from what I heard, apparently they just didn't cover it at all in those games, as far as I'm aware. Apparently there was like a DLC thing for Odyssey where it gave you some more of Juno's backstory, but that was it, I think. Again, I've never really touched Origins or Odyssey, so I don't know anything about them. But I looked it up, like, is the Juno plot resolved? And the answer on Google was, apparently it got resolved in a comic book series, where after like 6 or something years after this game, they were like, we were kind of building up to it, like, in the games for a really long time. Do we want to really do it in there? And apparently they started like another kind of series of plot points in the games apart from this Juno plot, and they made there was like a comic book series where in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood there was this bit where if you get all of these like collectible runes things and you talk to Subject 16, he says to Desmond, like, oh, the key is in the sun, your son. And like it says both like S-U-N and S-O-N, so you're not sure which it is. And in the games it seemed to imply like S-O-N, like that. No, freaking S-U-N, sorry, I'm getting mixed up with like the sun having a solar flare and such. But then for the comic books they were like, oh, we said S-O-N as well, we could put that into play. So there's like this comic book series where apparently they write in Desmond having a son that he didn't know about from somebody who he stayed with briefly during his time as a bartender. Like, they write in this son character who's become an assassin, is working against Juno. And apparently, I've never read the comic books, but what I heard about after I googled it was apparently, like, Juno works towards cloning herself, and 5 minutes after she makes an actual body again, she gets assassinated by, like, Desmond's son. Like 5 minutes after doing that. Like, literally just a really quick way where it's like, well, we were kind of building up this plot point, let's find a way to get rid of it. So I don't know if these comic books are supposed to be like their own different timeline, like their own separate canon, and if they're actually going to like wrap up Juno's story in the games. But as of yet in 2020, they still haven't. It's been 8 years since this game originally came out, and they still haven't wrapped up that plot point after that massive cliffhanger. Like, if those comic books are canon as well, then that's very much their way of being like, well, we built up to this for a long time, but we gave up on it, so let's just throw it in the trash can. I kind of hope that's not the case because I am still curious. I want them to write like a proper end, honestly. And something that does intrigue me though is when it comes to the game that's coming out this year in the Assassin's Creed series, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I probably won't be playing on release because I have so many other games in the series to do on stream first. Like, after this, we still have the DLC for this game. Then we have Liberation. Then we have 4. Then we have Freedom Cry. Then we have Rogue. Then we have Unity. Then we have Syndicate. Then we have Origins. Then we have Odyssey. Then we have Valhalla, finally. So I don't think I'm going to get to it this year. But for the development of that game, I believe it was the director, I don't remember who it was like the director or something, that said that Valhalla is supposed to be like the end of an era when it comes to the Assassin's Creed series. Like, it's supposed to be like one big wrap-up for something of the series. And for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the last one, which came out in 2018, as part of the season pass, they released this game here, essentially, Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, quote-unquote, with, you know, lighting changed around and broken UI. But remastered, quote-unquote. So with them saying that the next game, like, they could have released any other game with a kind of quote-unquote remastered, but they chose Assassin's Creed 3, meaning they, all of a sudden, after, like, 6 years in 2018, from 2012 to 2018, after 6 years after it came out, why is it that they would want to draw attention back to this and this plot point? Like, because they could have released any other game with like the remastered quote unquote, but they chose this one, like wanting to draw attention back to this plot in 2018 with probably a lot of people who hadn't played it before. So in 2018, probably 2019 actually, because that's probably when the season pass stuff released. So in 2019, they wanted to draw attention back to this. And for the next game coming out this year in 2020, it's supposed to be like the end of an era. They're wrapping stuff up. Like, it's supposed to be like a big end to some sort of way that the plot has been going in AC so far. So the fact that they want to draw attention back to this, and they said that about the next game, Valhalla, it honestly leads me to believe that maybe in that game, they might wrap up the Juno plot. Maybe. Maybe they'll finally have like some big conflict with Juno that it's been building up to, like, with every game since this one, where it's like, oh, she's gonna do something soon, but not yet, because we can't decide what we want to do with her yet. So I really hope that it wraps that up. Like, it was technically wrapped up in the comic books by having her freaking assassinated 5 minutes into being revived, which is like such a lazy way to just like wrap up the plot, where it's like, well, we started doing this thing, but we gave up on it, so here's like a way to throw it in the trash and get it wrapped up. Hopefully that's not canon, hopefully it's its own separate canon, and I hope that Valhalla does wrap up the Juno plot, because it kind of implies it with them saying that that's going to wrap things up, and with them releasing this in like 2018/2019 or something like that, and all of a sudden, in the past couple of years, drawing attention back to the plot of AC3 from 2012. Like, why would they want to draw back attention to this plot here after all these years, if it wasn't for something like that? I really hope it is. We'll see. Anyway, during the credits is usually when I give my full review of a game. When it comes to the game in general, I won't talk about the remastered aspects of it yet. When it comes to AC3 in general, this was my first Assassin's Creed game, and I do definitely really enjoy it at the end of the day. I feel like every time I play it, I like it slightly less, though. Like, it feels clunkier each time. Like, it could also have to do with, like, the remastered version being, like, hella whack and just breaking all the time. That could be it. But I feel like every time I play it, I like it a little bit less. The gameplay is mostly fun. The UI is awful, and not just, like, the parts of the remastered version that broke it. The UI is terrible. Like, the general combat and stuff, it's typically pretty smooth. It's a pretty fun experience. Sometimes it breaks here and there. But generally, it's pretty fun. Switching weapons is not very good. I don't like pressing R and then using the 2 sticks. And then I actually have to press A on what I'm selecting. I can't just exit the menu and have it automatically be on that. That messed me up a few times. I didn't like that. There were some parts that I feel like could have been included in the game. Like, during development of this game, like I was saying earlier, they cut a monologue by Connor at the very end of his journey from, like, the original. It does not with the remaster. They cut it out from the game. There's this monologue that actually really wraps up his character very well, where he basically talks about how he's been going to all these efforts to try to like, uphold these ideals and protect his people and stuff like that. And he put his trust in these people, only to see all of his ideals, like, turned against him and twisted and such. What with, you know, his people being driven out anyway and such. And he talks about, like, oh, but you, Father, would say that you've described the whole of history, perhaps, but I still will not accept it and still keep working towards change. Like, it's a really nice monologue that really wraps up his character and develops it way further than the main game did. Like, it really sucks that for the original release in 2012, that monologue wasn't included, that it was just cut content that still exists, like, in-game, but, you know, isn't part of any actual cutscenes. So when it comes to my playlist of my whole Assassin's Creed series in general, I will be including that monologue in this series, because it is, like, a really good way to wrap up his character. This remaster was a big missed opportunity to include that, because by including that would have really wrapped up his character way better than in the original, since it was cut in the original. But no, they didn't bother to include that for the quote-unquote remaster, which is a little bit disappointing. Ah well though. But yeah, gameplay mostly good, UI sucks, getting from point A to point B also kind of sucks sometimes. Horses are wonky. Probably better than Breath of the Wild, though. Breath of the Wild are even wonkier. Horses in games are oftentimes just wonky in general. Music, I wish there was actually music during the overworld, kind of, parts of it. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild in that sense, where it's like, overworld, time for no music. And Breath of the Wild is like next to no music. In this game, it's like no music at all. Like, it'd be really cool if there was actually music as you're exploring around. The music during missions and such, it might be my favorite Assassin's Creed soundtrack. Like, this game has a lot of jammers in it. Like, the music during like the main themes of the game and some of the themes like Fight Club, Trouble in Town is just so good. And the way that it reuses that main leitmotif in all kinds of different styles is very nice. I love it when games use a leitmotif effectively. And the way this game uses its leitmotif is just great. So, for the most part, I do definitely really like the music of the game. For story, I guess I was talking a little bit about that before. Generally, I like the story of the game, but it could have been handled better, definitely by a decent bit. I feel like the smallest change that would have the biggest impact to making the story better is just having an actual scene where Connor has that monologue that was cut from the game for whatever reason. I can't believe they cut that. Like, it can get a bit confusing at points. I found it easier to follow than, like, some of the Ezio games, which are, like, AC2 especially, jumped from, like, so many different little plot points, one to another, and I was constantly like, what am I doing? Why am I here? What's going on? I was so confused a lot of the time. This, I found a little bit easier to follow. I was still confused at times, here and there. I have played this game, like, 3 or 4 times now, so, I mean, I do generally know what's going on, most of the time at least, but I think on my first playthrough, which was like back in 2012 or early 2013, I think I struggled with following it a little bit more back then. But yeah, I do generally like Assassin's Creed 3 at the end of the day, but I feel like every time I play it, I begin to notice its flaws more and more and begin to dislike it more and more, especially during this remaster. Like, the original game definitely had its fair share of glitchiness. But this remaster, like, its UI broke more than ever before. Like, it was worse than in the original. Like, one of the most prominent things was when somebody is speaking from a distance, and it shows the subtitles as, like, Desmond / Connor speaking, when it's not. Like, right before the credits, for example, the radio broadcaster being like, oh, there's an aurora borealis above the planet, and it says Desmond is speaking. Like, did they not playtest their game? Question marks? Many of them? And this remaster has been out for like a year now. How have they not put out an update to fix that at this point? How have they not? It's not like this only just came out. Like, did they not playtest it at all? Did nobody bother looking at the subtitles to see that, you know, it's not Desmond / Connor speaking when it says it's Desmond / Connor speaking? Like, did they not test it out? Like, I'm so confused. Like, or also it'd show like the optional objectives from a previous mission while you're in like another mission right now, it would show like all this stuff on the left side for some previous thing that was done like forever ago. Or, for example, there was a time that there was like the synchronization sound where we went up on that building and it started playing like the synchronization tune of like before you're about to synchronize, like that typical kind of notes here and there where it symbolizes you're in an area where you can synchronize. And then it just kept playing it for like the next 20 minutes, even during cutscenes. Like, it was so strange how it did that. It just kept playing the synchronization tune for like 20 minutes, even during cutscenes that normally have their own music and did still play their own music. But there was just the freaking synchronization sound over top of it as well. It was so weird. So, like, the original game had its fair share of glitches. I feel like this quote-unquote remaster just freaking brought the glitches from like 10 to 100. Like, it just freaking ramped it up. Went from 0 to 100 real fast. Like, I would have said 0 to 100, but like, the original definitely had its fair share of glitches. But this just ramped up the glitches even further. Like, I was so surprised. Or that time where it told me press B to reduce sails and improve sailing, and it never went away, even after I like exited the Animus and went back in, where I needed to like full up restart the game as a whole to make that go away. Like, I'm convinced that the UI of this remaster is completely busted. Like, it's completely broken. I am surprised that they did not like test it and fix it. Anyway, I don't know how long the credits go on. Oh, I guess I can skip it. But yeah, we're technically not done with the series on Assassin's Creed 3 yet. I would like to cover the DLC missions. Like, there's a little bit of like side story stuff within one of those missions. I don't know what there's like a couple minor missions. I don't know what the story behind those are. And then there's like a set of missions that are like their own side story. And then, speaking of side stories, there is a full-on side story. So we're definitely not done with Assassin's Creed 3 quite yet. We will be continuing with Connor's adventures shortly. But yeah, they probably had like 5 people working on the remastering. Just change the lighting and ship it. Just change the lighting and then ship it. Oh man. One thing I do like about the remaster is that you can actually aim your firearms. Is that you can actually aim your bow and your pistol. I think that's the only thing I like about the remaster over the original. Honestly. Like, at least I can play this on my Nintendo Switch with the remaster. Also, like, once we're done with all the DLC content of AC3, I will be hopping into Liberation, which is also part of this, like, because on the Switch version, AC3 comes with Liberation, and I've never actually played Liberation before, so I look forward to trying that out for the first time. I have literally no idea what the story of Liberation is, so I'll see what that's like. True question is, why did they remaster it? To add more value to their season pass of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, since this is something that you got for free if you got the, or I say for free, it's like part of the cost of the season pass, I guess, where there's like all this stuff in Assassin's Creed Odyssey that you get. Plus, if you get the season pass, you get Assassin's Creed 3 and Liberation. Is it with Liberation? I don't remember. Assassin's Creed 3 remastered for free. I know at least the Switch version of AC3 remastered has Liberation with it, but yeah, they could have remastered like any other game. Like, imagine if they remastered, quote unquote, the Ezio trilogy or something like that. People would lose their minds and be like super hyped about that. I think, if I had to guess, it's probably because they wanted to bring attention back to this story for some reason with the Desmond plot and with Juno being released. Especially considering they have said with Assassin's Creed Valhalla coming out later this year that apparently that game is supposed to like wrap up some sort of direction of the Assassin's Creed story. Like, it's the end of an era for some sort of thing within the Assassin's Creed series. So I really, really hope that what that means is that Valhalla will wrap up the Juno plot, and that's the reason why they brought attention back to AC3 by remastering it all these years later. I really hope that that's the answer. That's what I suspect. If I'm wrong, I'll be sad. And knowing how wacky Ubisoft sometimes gets with their titles, I'll probably be wrong. But I really, really hope that the game coming out this year wraps up the Juno plot, and that's why they remastered this game, was to draw attention back to Juno being released as like for people who didn't know about it, or just like as a reminder all these years later of, oh yeah, that happened. There was this plot that they did that they never wrapped up. I remember. So I hope that's the reason, but who knows? Who knows what the reason is? Hey, look, here's Desmond, not dead. Isn't that something? I think we might just be like stuck in the Animus now. I don't know if we can ever leave. Like, considering Desmond died. Why is this, like, first person? What's happening? So, I will be doing some of the DLC stuff in the future. There's not gonna be a cutscene, is there? And the hatchet is removed to signal the conflict is at its end, I suppose. I think that cutscene there is where his monologue that was cut from the original game was supposed to play. Why is there a main mission thing on the map? Is that for, like, DLC or something? What is this? Why is there a main mission thing? What? Why? We finished the story. I'm so confused. Why is there a main mission thing? Well, maybe something to check out next time, since we're not done with this game yet. That's the end of the main story of AC3, but we will be continuing with DLC stuff. Maybe that's just DLC stuff over there? Maybe that's one of the ones? I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some research into, like, how exactly do I do all the DLC missions? Because we'll be doing all the main game DLC stuff first, and then we'll be doing, like, the side story that you access from the main menu. So we do still have a decent bit to go. But as for the main story, that wraps it up. I think I might actually play that monologue right here as well. I'll probably add it as its own video to this series anyway, like in the playlist. But I'll also look it up now, like, you know, just to have it here. So let's see here. So Assassin's Creed 3 cut dialogue, I guess? Is that what that would be? Yeah, so this would be in the freaking epilogue, I guess. Would it be? Yeah, a quick soliloquy. So there's no cutscene with it since they recorded the dialogue and then it got cut. I'll just turn off my camera and chat and then we'll just like have them here and we can listen to this. So for some reason, this was cut from the original game.
My father left those for me. Mother, Father, I am sorry. I have failed you both. I made a promise to protect our people. I thought if I could stop the Templars, if I could keep the revolution free from their influence, that those I supported would do what was right. They did, I suppose, do what was right. What was right for them. As for you, Father, I thought I might unite us. That we would forget the past and forge a better future. In time, I believed you could be made to see the world as I did, to understand. But it was just a dream. This too I should have known. Were we not meant to live in peace then? Is that it? Are we born to argue? To fight? So many voices, each demanding something else. It has been hard at times, but never harder than today. To see all I worked for, perverted, discarded, forgotten. You would say I have described the whole of history, Father. Are you smiling then? Hoping I might speak the words you long to hear? To validate you? To say that all along you were right? I will not. Even now, faced as I am with the truth of your cold words, I refuse, because I believe things can still change. I may never succeed. The assassins may struggle another 1,000 years in vain, but we will not stop. Compromise. That is what everyone has insisted upon. And so I have learned it. But differently than most, I think. I realize now that it will take time, that the road ahead is long and shrouded in darkness. It is a road that will not always take me where I wish to go. And I doubt I will live to see its end. But I will travel down it nonetheless. For at my side walks hope. In the face of all that insists I turn back, I carry on. This is my compromise.
So that was recorded for the original game, but it wound up being cut, and I feel like it wraps up his character really well. And the reason why I know that exists is because that was actually a scene that we had a look at in my use of history and video games class when we were talking. We had a couple lectures on indigenous games, and we were talking about, is Assassin's Creed 3, should it be considered an indigenous game since you play as a indigenous man? And we had a look at that dialogue and essentially discussed it in class. That's the reason why I know that this game has that cut content. Like, I probably wouldn't have known otherwise if, you know, my professor wasn't showing it to our classroom with like 100 people in it. But yeah, I really wish that with this quote-unquote remaster, they would have found a way to put that in, because that really wraps up his character quite well, honestly. Like, he feels a little bit incomplete without it, especially after hearing that. It's like, wow, that's a good wrap-up. Anyway, speaking of wrapping things up, I'll be wrapping up this stream here. We will be continuing this with some more DLC stuff. We'll see a little bit more of his story, but as for the main game of Assassin's Creed 3, that wraps it up. For the next actual game, the next actual different game that we play in this series, it'll be Liberation, which, like, came out on the same day as AC3. It went hand in hand with it. I think it originally released on the PSP, but now it's in, like, other consoles and HD and stuff like that. But it was basically, like, a handheld game. It had the same mechanics as AC3, like, the same engine and all that. So, should be very similar gameplay. I bet, what do you bet the UI of that game is going to be broken as well? And then from there, we'll move on to AC4, which is my favorite one. But, you know, we've got all the DLC of this to do first, and then Liberation, so it'll still be a little while. I do look really forward to eventually hopping into AC4. I love that game so much. But I'm going to wrap things up here for now. So thanks all who stopped by and hung out for this. We'll be doing DLC next time, and I'm out of here for now, so see ya.